So welcome everyone. It is Tuesday afternoon. We are back in on Beyond the Buy Box, and I'm joined by Hayden. Hi, Hayden. Sorry, I seem like a little bit distracted, but it's purely because if you were on Hive yesterday, or if you were on the Hive last week, you'll notice that there's been some streaming rules change, Facebook changes. So we're still navigating the way through them. Luckily, my business partner is Johnny Smith, so he manages to fix everything. If this was me, I would just be here talking to an empty room by myself, thinking I was live when I'm not. So I can see you guys and you're hopping on and you're joining us, which is good. We're live. So it's good to have everyone here. We got Simon, we got James, I got Yanni's joined us. Welcome, Sandy. Good afternoon. Johnny says, everyone, we are live. Come and join us if you can. It's going to be a good chat. Hayden's going to give us a song. Show us your mic.
She's waiting for that.
I was. I said to her, are we doing karaoke? I mean, I don't need any encouragement to do some karaoke. If karaoke is on the board, I'm well up for joining that for sure.
So that's basically, I haven't got a desk at home. I sit on the sofa, so I have to take it off its tripod. Yeah, that's why.
Oh right, gosh, yeah, I can see the difference.
Yeah. So I have actually got a stand for it like that. If I was sitting on a desk, but I'm on my sofa, and I don't have a desk in this flat. So there we go. That's the story behind the mic.
I do not believe for 1 minute that mic is not used for alternate purposes when the cameras are off at home. I imagine that there's some singing around the apartment on that, surely, with that mic.
My girlfriend did absolutely try singing into it when we first got it.
100%. Like I said, if you'd have said no, I wouldn't have believed you for sure. Matt Cromie says stand-up comedian. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Welcome back. Yeah, loads of people are jumping on now. Right, finally we're here, guys. We're going to struggle to see comments from anywhere else, and I know that this is a bit disruptive at the moment. We're still feeling our way through it. We will have, I'm hoping by next week, more of an alternate solution, even if it means that we're going back to streaming live more on YouTube, which is obviously something that is still connected and unaffected by the changes that Facebook has made. I feel sorry for StreamYard a little bit because this is something outside of their control. This is definitely a change that Facebook has made. So we will work through it. We just need you to support us all by coming on the lives, asking questions and kind of getting interactive with us. So Hayden, you actually came on a few weeks ago with the guys, and you were just talking around sort of standard Amazon selling when I was off ill, but there was always the intention to have you come back on and speak specifically a little bit more about many a person's bugbear in this Amazon game, which is PPC, paid advertising, which something that scares the life out of most people, understandably, because you can lose your shirt really quickly on PPC. So it would be good to kind of get your thoughts. We're going to answer any questions you guys might have about PPC. So let me know in the comments. I can currently see them as it stands. Let me know, are you currently using PPC for your business? Do you understand it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Give us all of your feelings on PPC and what it does in your business. Do you feel you understand it? Do you feel you could be utilizing it better? I want to hear as many different opinions on PPC as possible. But just before we do, for anyone that doesn't know you, Hayden, just give us the old intro. Give us, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm sure everyone does, but, it's always good to hear.
Hopefully there's one that doesn't get bored. So, started selling about 6 years ago online. Started with drop shipping, Amazon to eBay. That was the one. So we had like loads of, I always talk about that because it's just like, that was such an unstable.
The way you started.
Yeah, it was such an unstable sort of fear-provoking business. So I like to say I started there and then transitioned to something a lot more stable. But yeah, did the drop shipping thing and then went into arbitrage and then went into bundles. And now I do a mix of bundles, arbitrage, and just recently private label. So that's kind of what I do now. That was a very fast snippet, wasn't it, through my 6 years in e-commerce?
Absolutely. You have the fast forward button on there, but it covers It covers essentially. And I think what's really interesting, and I think, Hayden, you're the perfect example of somebody doing a 180 and then a full 360 in your Amazon selling journey, because you've been through it all. You've seen it all. You've been through COVID times, which were absolutely phenomenal for anyone that was selling on Amazon during that period of time. You started before that, so you were aware of the decline we experienced. Then you got the high of COVID. Then we got the frustration back from the arbitrage selling things. You moved into bundles. You've been immensely successful with that, and now you've gone back into reselling. And so, you know, whilst getting rid of the unsuccessful stuff, but maintaining the successful stuff and continuing to add extra layers and going through it. So you've been what I would describe as a real emotional roller coaster Amazon selling journey. There's not many things that you haven't experienced. So for anyone that maybe is that in that same sort of area at the moment, I wanted to ask you first and foremost, because Amazon is now shaping your future. You know, it's shaping everything that you're going to be doing and building your business streams and income streams around moving forward. So why didn't you quit, as some people do? What made you stick in the game? And what kind of got you through it to where you are now?
So why didn't I quit? I'll go there first. Well, you were a big reason for that. I'm not gonna sit here and just say.
I wasn't expecting you to that. That wasn't a leading question, by the way, but thank you.
No, I know, yeah, but you were a big reason for it. You know, I was like, arbitrage for me in the UK, I felt like it wasn't working. It was working, but it was margins that I wasn't willing to accept at the time. I didn't think they were feasible, but more case it was because I didn't have the infrastructure to be able to take their margins, if that makes sense, the scalability, the funding, and the knowledge ultimately. So I assumed it wasn't working at the time. And then obviously I spoke to you about bundles and then started actually making some better profit. And then just got some hope, you know, that's why I didn't quit. You know, I got some hope. I was literally like, I remember saying to you when we first started speaking, when you were helping me a bit with coaching to start with, you said, I remember saying to you, this is like my final, this is my final push. You know, if this doesn't work, then I'm out. You know, like I've got to do another business, because I'd had a successful landscaping business before, which was making a lot more money. And I wasn't willing to have, once you reach a certain level, of income, you never want to go below that. You always want to maintain your lifestyle like that, obviously. So, yeah, and that was my last shot. And as soon as I built that confidence back up with some bundles, then I really started to understand the landscape of Amazon again, and then hence getting back into arbitrage, which I'm sure we'll talk about, which I am now, which is one of my most profitable income streams now, funny enough, even though back then I thought it didn't work anymore. Yeah, that's sorry, what was the next part of the question? That's why I didn't quit.
I don't know. I can't remember. It was a while ago. I was listening intently to what you were saying. Had loads of people jump on live. Good to see you all, guys, actually. So we've got Emma. Emma was on Beyond the Buy Box a few weeks ago, opened up a new prep center. So if anyone wants to go back and watch that video, that's currently, I was going to say it's live on YouTube. The replay is on YouTube. That's a great one. We talked about the process of setting up a prep center. So go back and watch that replay if you haven't already. We got Debbie. We got Caitlin who says hello. Vienne's joined us. Welcome, guys. Chris, Jess, Jules. Good to have you all here. Loads of people jumping in. The ghost is back. Sorry, the wind. So going back to that point, picking it up, going through that emotional kind of roller coaster, because it's been 2.5 years since you started that transition, maybe a little bit more. Maybe just over 2.5 years. So one thing I know as being close to you during that period of time is the roller coaster you've been through, but also the growth that you've experienced, not only for you as a person, but in your business, which, we had a session the other day, didn't we? And one of the things I often do with people, especially if they're a bit more progressed, is make them look back at where they were and where they are now. And I think it still surprises you every time. when we do that, because we don't do it every session. We do it every now and again. But looking back where you were now and where you started, I think it still takes you by surprise, because we are very good at humans at focusing just on what we're doing now and the future, and not looking at the past, which is not necessarily always a good place to look. But at the same time, it can help motivate us that we're heading in the right direction. So one of the things I wanted to sort of say, while having you on here, particularly before we start talking about the PPC, is you are the epitome of consistency, focus, and hard work, and putting it all together. But the one question I want to ask, and I'm hoping you're going to give this answer, is, was it easy?
It definitely wasn't easy. No.
Good. Because that is, you are a true reflection of what this business should be about, in the sense that the time that it is taking you to get to the point you are now and the where you're going to be in the future is realistic. Okay. Unfortunately, for anybody watching, if you've watched that TikTok guru who's gone into B&M and he's flipped a couple of, Mars bars over or something like that, and told you you're going to be hitting 7 figures in 3 months' time, collecting the keys to your Lambo, buying your 5-bed exec house. Unfortunately, it's not the case. It's a longer slog than that, and it's certainly not easy. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's just that never ending, and it kind of doesn't really get easier either. I mean, the momentum builds, doesn't it? The momentum gets better and you outsource. Does it get easier? I don't know. There's just bigger challenges, isn't there? Like now, before I was launching sort of 1 bundle a month. Now I try and launch 3 or 5 a week. Like especially with the new stuff we're doing now, more sort of going into the more of like the essentials market and the everyday products that are easier to launch. We launch 3 or 5 a lot easier a week than I used to launch 1 a month, obviously. But then that comes with other challenges. A lot of them won't work. And then not only have we got the challenge of the time it takes and the admin to order it, launch it, create it, etc., that we've got to pay the prep fees and everything like that. And sometimes listings won't work, or sometimes one of my private label products hasn't worked. It costs a lot of money when a private label product fails. So it's just different. It's different levels, different devils, I suppose. But I'm not at a big level, by the way. Just make that clear. I'm not trying to sound like I am, but bigger level than people just starting out. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would say you're definitely you are where, for me, I would rather take the level of success that you're at the moment than any of the multi 7 figures that are pushing through numbers and things like that, because you've come from, I suppose, the school of Natalie a little bit. We very much focus on high margins. We very much focus on the stuff that is going to bring a good level of profitability. Because when you start playing around, and this leads quite nicely into the PPC, I think, when you start playing around with higher margin stuff, and then you start to introduce your own products, you need margins in this business to be able to use paid advertising to help grow your business. Because if you are creating things in particular that are on razor thin margins, there's not a lot left over for paid advertising. And in today's Amazon world, unfortunately, you got to pay to play in a lot of cases if you are creating your own opportunities. We do see people absolutely that create their own bundles, create their own opportunities, they launch them, and they've just got everything right. It's just hit at the right time. So therefore, it doesn't need a lot of paid advertising to keep it going, to get it started. But they are on the rarer side now, unfortunately. You definitely need some form of paid advertising to get a bundle going, or you need to start with a very low price. But either way, you got to pay to play. It's it's quite simple. So there's always a trade-off, essentially. So with everything that you were doing and everything that you've learned over the last couple of years, talk me through the processes of what you went through, what you learned, and why in particular you ended up looking at PPC a little bit deeper, or a little bit more interest than other people.
Yeah, with the PPC, it kind of fascinated me, and I had an actual interest in it. It's analytical, and I kind of liked getting data. Like, me, obviously you've worked with me for years, so it's kind of like I'm the sort of person that needs that certainty and stuff.
Yeah.
I like certainty. I don't deal very well with uncertainty. So when I understand stuff on a deep level, that's why I wanted to get that deep level of understanding on PPC, so that I could be analytical and have that deep understanding. PPC is kind of, as long as you've got a good listing, it's kind of cause and effect. You spend X amount, as long as the listing is good, it's likely that you're going to start getting a good amount of sales with X amount of spend. As long as you've done your analysis properly. Whereas there's other stuff that isn't so certain. So I guess that was sort of one of the main reasons as well. And also, I was interested definitely in the industry as a whole, of getting into it at a later date, hence starting an agency and everything like that in it. So yeah, that they were the two main reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll come on and talk about that in a moment, because that's obviously not the reason Hayden is here today, but I want to expand on everything as part of your journey over the last couple of years, where it's led to now, where it's going to go in the future. Because I think sometimes, we've had this conversation so many, many times. One, I wanted to bring up about the fact that you never gave up. Okay, you had the trials and tribulations. You'd been through it. You could absolutely see, you were on the brink. You were on the edge of chucking it all in and going off and finding something else. And if you had have done that, to be perfectly honest, Hayden, you're destined to be an entrepreneur. And well, you are an entrepreneur. So whatever you would have found, I'm sure you would have eventually found something that would have worked for you, even if you had have, because I know that you wouldn't have given up entirely, being an entrepreneur and building your income streams in that respect. But one thing we certainly worked on, I know when we first started, was the perception of Amazon, and having a perception of, is it good enough for me in the sense of what I want to do? And I'm curious to hear, because as I've said to you, this is not an uncommon issue. People really associate having an Amazon business with being a bit of a Dell boy, bit of this, bit of that, bit of selling out the back of the car boot. I think over the last couple of years, since the introduction of like the aggregators that are making multi-seven figures buying private label businesses of people, I think that changed the perception of it a little bit. But I'm curious to know if anyone else has ever had this. Is Amazon good enough for me? And please don't confuse that with, is Amazon good enough as in I'm too good or I'm too great for anything. I think until you kind of have that realization of understanding, one, whether Amazon is truly the vehicle for you, because you can disassociate it with that Del Boy thing, or two, that you actually believe in it. There's two things. You have to believe in it, and you have to believe it's worthy of taking you where you want it to go. So is that something that the rest of you have experienced as well? Because I'm quite curious. I think from my experience working closely with certain people and across the board, until you believe those two things, as in Amazon is good enough for me to take me where I want it, or certainly the first part of where I want it to take for me, and two, I actually believe Amazon works, I think people really struggle to scale their businesses and move beyond that, or grow successful businesses, because that's a barrier for them.
That's the exact issue I had, isn't it? Both of them issues,
Yeah.
I didn't think it was good enough for me. I wanted to build like a quote unquote proper company, like whether it was a big agency with an office, or, a retail store. I don't know, something that was classed as like a proper, when I say proper business, I mean, like, I guess the world's changed. So it's like, what is a proper business these days? Because there's a hell of a lot of people that have got really successful online businesses, just like we have. So proper business, the term of a proper business changed, didn't it, a few years ago, especially since the internet's matured so much. But I guess I wanted like an old school business. That's in my head, probably with my upbringing, what I thought was a proper business. So I was tackling with that issue, and then tackling with the major issue, which was I didn't actually believe in the business as much as, you know, I needed to. Fast forward to now, obviously I believe in, I still have some issues, I won't lie, but I do really believe in the potential of Amazon and e-commerce, you know, generally, because I surround myself with so many people that are successful. Obviously I've had success myself, etc. And when you just immerse yourself on it and keep testing to a certain level, once you've got a bit of money in the bank, once you've got a certain amount of results, then you start to realize, oh, this is a proper thing.
Yeah.
And then also what happens there is when you start to master something, you get loads of confidence in it. You start to become a success in it. People around you can see that you're a success in it. Then you start to not, you know, really care what people think about you doing the business, because most people are just thinking how well you've done, you know, and that's fine, you know.
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
we talk about breakthroughs in this business, and that was a massive breakthrough for you. But I also think it's a breakthrough that some other people might not be aware of. Now, you are a different generation to me. I am, I mean, obviously I'm younger. No, but obviously I'm older. So I'm the next generation up again. But you're absolutely right. If you are my generation and above, so 40 plus, then we have even a harder. I've been self-employed, entrepreneur, businesswoman, whatever you want to call me. I've been out of the rat race for nearly 20 years. So for me, this is not something I have an issue with, because I've been doing this in whatever capacity. I have the ability. If Amazon stopped tomorrow, I would find something else and I would move into that, and I would hope I would make a success of it, because I don't need to get past that barrier of, is this a proper business? Does this work? With the greatest of respect, you know, and without blowing my own horn, anything that we've put the time and effort into has generally worked for us, in different levels of success, obviously, but you only get out what you put in. And that comes down to it as well. So I'm quite confident I would be able to move on to something else and have success, because I don't have that mindset barrier. But once you go through that mindset barrier, once you push through it, and I really do think that was the big change for you, Hayden, when you accepted that one, and like I said, it's two-part, and they didn't happen at the same time either. The Amazon thing about it being good enough, that was more of a recent thing, whereas the proven concept that happened probably in the first 6 months, right, of, you know, adopting the new style of selling and everything like that. The next thing probably took another year on top of that before you could really let go of some of those things that were holding you back from progressing. And ever since then, it's just been continual, month on month, quarter on quarter, year on year, that you've continued to grow within this business, because you know it has a future as well. And I think that's the other thing. Once you get a certain level of protection in the business, selling on multiple markets, by the way, guys, who's happy about the new account health assurance coming to the UK? I was talking to someone else about this earlier. So we have it in the US. Now that it's been introduced in the UK, I think the majority of people would have qualified for it. If you have been selling and haven't had any account health issues over the last 6 months, you should have automatically been enrolled into it. Once you have that on multiple accounts, I'm going to say the wrong thing here, nobody shoot me down. You become not infallible. Nobody is infallible on Amazon, but you have, if you're selling in someone like UK or EU and US and the different marketplaces, and you've got account health assurance on all of those accounts, you are protected at the highest possible level you can be protected at. And for me, as someone that's been selling on Amazon for a really long time and involved in selling on Amazon for a long time, I believe this is the highest level of protection that there has ever been for Amazon sellers to be able to build on confidence moving forward in their business, which has always been a big barrier for everybody. Should I put all of my time and effort into building a business that I know could go in an instant?
Yeah, that's something I've always struggled with. I think everyone sort of struggles with. That's once again like thinking like, you know, does a proper business do that? Would it be able to just go in an instant, you know? But I guess, you know, with these online businesses, that's the reality of the world today, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting point. And I want to make this absolutely clear. I have been in my previous businesses in that very situation. It is not something that is exclusive to Amazon. I had a very traditional, you've probably heard me say this story many times because it was a real eye-opener. It was actually what caused us to move into Amazon in the first place. I had as a traditional business as you could find. It was a distribution business that sold B2B and B2C. So, you know, when you guys go to Spring Fair and Autumn Fair and you see the people in the stalls trying to flog your stuff, that's what I used to do in my previous business. We would sell to shops, we would sell to distributors, you know, we would sell to anyone that and everyone that would have our products. But there came a point where I built a very successful, award-winning business, distribution business, and it came to a grinding halt practically overnight because the material was used to make the products that we distributed became unavailable.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
And I'll tell you this for nothing, guys. I spent 2 years knocking on doors, in particular the V&A Museum, who we used to supply in London, one of our best clients. We became one of their best selling products in the whole of their gift shop, which is one of the biggest selling gift shops in the UK. And in terms of footfall and volume and everything like that. And I spent 2 years knocking on the door of that place to get in, calling them up. How's it going? Tell me about this, blah, blah, blah. Let me come down and see you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You know, the usual stuff that you have to do to get in and build relationships with these people. I supplied them for 2.5 months. It came to an end. And even being the bestseller in the jewelry category, they dropped me like a sack of shit. I kid you not. It was one of the biggest lessons in my life. And I even remember sounding like a child and say I probably embarrassed myself a little bit by saying to them, yeah, but we were your bestseller last month. Don't care. We're the V&A Museum. We'll find something else that will sell equally as well next month. If you can't supply us, you are out. And that's what it was. Cutthroat. Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, look at the state of the high street as well. I was walking down my town where I used to live, you know, recently, and like God, like every other shop is closed there. You know, I mean, like they're really struggling at the moment in the town. But like loads of old successful businesses, not like BHS and you know, like loads of shops like that, they're all just closed. You know, like Top Man, Top Shop. They used to be like at the top of their game. Now I know that's an isolated incident. They're all owned by the same person. But yeah, there's just a lot of businesses. You know, I hear of. I don't usually hear of builders going out of business, to be honest, as long as they're good. But there's a lot of industries that aren't, you know, even as stable as Amazon's. Amazon's definitely not isolated yet. You know, yes, you've got to worry about suspension, but if you look at the sales, I think if you really want stability, just do a few different strategies like I do in a few different marketplaces, and then you could have that all-round umbrella of, you know, oh, if that's, you know, like on our call the other day, Nat, you know, I was a bit worried because some of the products I sell, a certain type of product that I sell within all my products has just dropped off a bit at this time of the year, but it's okay because I've got other types of products that sell, and now I can launch more types of products that sell at this time of the year, and you can sort of fluctuate. It's not so rigid, you know. If you've got a shop that's in one place, or if you're doing one business model, then you have to sort of stick with that, you know. So it's that flexibility that Amazon gives you in e-commerce. Yeah, you can't actually get that in a lot of businesses, you know. They just have to sit there and suck it up and hope that it gets better, whereas we can actually take action and be proactive and launch products that are seasonal for that time or sell all year round. You know, if you see a decline, or you can improve your listing, you can do PPC on your listing. You know, there is things that you can do to be proactive, isn't there? Compared to a lot of other businesses.
Oh, I think it's phenomenal. And I think sometimes we get caught up in seeing all the ways that Amazon can ruin our life, and we shut ourselves off to how Amazon can improve our lives. I had a call with someone this morning, and I won't go into any details or anything like that, but they're very much on the same trajectory as you in terms of the way that they're building their business. Very similar, not with what you sell, but you know, same kind of process, and a little bit similar to what I spoke to you about. And I finished the call by saying to them and showing them where they could be. Don't force people into the future. You know this that often, but I like to give people a little bit of a glimpse of where they can be in the future if they carry on putting the hours in, if they carry on putting the hard work in. If you stop, it stops with it. The dream dies with it, essentially. But I went through with this person, and it sounds so unbelievable to think about it. Said you carry on this trajectory, you do what we've put in, we follow the plan, you stay consistent, you work hard, you do this, do that, you outsource at the right time, blah, blah, blah. By this time, by the end, not this time next year, but in 18 months' time, by the time you are finishing out 2024, you could be looking at £250,000 profit per year.
Yeah.
And that is not me making shit up. That is not me, throwing figures in the air. I don't work like that. It is based on sustainable compounding growth that you can put into your business. Now, yes, of course, you have to find an area, a niche, potentially, that works for you. You have to be able to recognize it, and then you have to be able to capitalize it, take action, and move forward with it. But at the same time, this opportunity is available to anybody that wants it, that is prepared to stick with it. I would rather now, by the way, I did not do this, so I don't want anyone to call me a hypocrite. I gave up. I gave up on the arbitrage side of things, and I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd stuck it out, because there's a new way of selling. Well, not a new way of selling. There's always things you can do, like you said, Hayden. There's always ways that you can test things, and I wish I'd stuck in the arbitrage game instead of moving into not instead, as well as moving into bundles, and not just moving towards that, because now I know I'm gonna have to restart. I've restarted again, going back in the other end. I could have been so much more progressed had I have stuck in it and even run that as a break-even business until I discovered a new way. But I didn't. I gave up. I moved solely into bundles, and it took me out of the problem solving as well. I know I'm not very technical, but I am a problem solver. So I'm very logical with certain things, but I have to be doing it to fix the problem. So I know the second that I moved back into arbitrage in the US, like reselling in the US, I knew how profitable the UK could still be. But I only knew that once I moved back in and I started developing strategies and testing and doing certain things. But whereas I left the UK, in terms of reselling, it removed me from, figuring this stuff out. Now I'm back in reselling. I can see the future of the arbitrage in the UK, traditional arbitrage, and there is still this, there's still longevity in it. It's not dead. It's absolutely not dead. You've just got to evolve with it.
I wish the same. I wish I stuck to arbitrage when I switched to bundles, doing both of them, doing like a hybrid version of both of them, and that, I would be in a completely different place if I stuck that as well,
Yeah.
like I'm in a good place where I am, but we'd be doing probably double the revenue, still maintaining really good profits and more stability if I stuck with the arbitrage and did the bundles in the UK, so yeah, and I think I'll pick up, yeah.
No, I was going to say it's hard, but I mean, it's so easy looking back, right? And saying
Of course,
that.
yeah. Of course, yeah. Hindsight's a beautiful thing, of course. But yeah, I think this is another thing, like with one of the main lessons I've learned in the last few years of selling is not having that blinkered look on everything. We all know people, like I know definitely a few people that once there's a major issue with something, there's only so much that they tolerate, and then they just switch to something else and they completely ditch what they were doing before, all the 2 or 3 years of progress they had or something like that, and then they jump onto something new. And I used to do that a lot. But usually a decision that's made, a long-term permanent decision that's made on that short emotional burst is usually always the wrong decision, or you need to think about it sometimes for months, don't you, if you're going to make a decision on something, rather than just switching overnight. And there's too many people do that. And that's the same with the strategies on Amazon as well. I used to think when I went into bundles after a year of doing it, because I had relative success in it, that it was the best business model in Amazon. And now I look back and I go, actually, it's the same opportunity as all the others. It's got its pros and it's got its cons. What matters is the entrepreneur that's building that business. That's the one that's going to determine the success, no matter what model you do. RA, OA, wholesale, brands, bundles. It's about the person that's running that business. That's what's going to give them success. It's not about necessarily the model. Bundles is great, but it can be slow. Arbitrage can be, faster building, but it's lower profit. Like what devil do you want to dance with? It's kind of like that.
Absolutely. And I find that really interesting. You're absolutely right. It comes down to the person running it, their resilience, their adaptability, the longer that you do it, their business maturity, in terms of, now that you are, like I said, you've been a businessman, entrepreneur longer than 2.5 years, but it's 2.5 years you've really started to see the success. Success is contagious on Amazon and in the world, right? Because with everything else, because when something starts to go well, isn't it funny how it all seems to go well after that? And I think the thing is, everybody thinks that it's luck, but no, it's destined. It's by the way, I'm not getting into woo-woo here or anything like that. Isn't it interesting how good luck seems to always follow success?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But everybody makes their own luck, and it's a simple, mindset, and also spotting opportunity as well. This is what I call like the bundle brain in particular, but this scenario can be related to any scenario. Once you know how to bundle, you have success with it. Once the concept is proven, then you see bundles everywhere and you can't unsee them when you see them. And it's the same with success and opportunity. Once you are successful, once you do believe in the concept, once you do believe that there's future in it and you can grow and build and go from there. And I'll come back to Simon's comment in a minute, because that's so true. Once you do get to that point, isn't it amazing about how many more opportunities that you see? Because your eyes slowly start to open. And then when they open, your vision starts becoming more peripheral. It starts to widen out, and then your brain starts opening up to new stuff. And before you know it, you think anything's possible.
Yeah. And then the only issue becomes your focus. That's, once you get to a certain level, you're like, right, now I've got any opportunity I can pursue and it will probably be successful, but I can't do it all. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. It's an amazing quote that I love.
Absolutely. And I find what's really interesting, I've become a little bit insufferable to be, if I don't know if you can believe that, but I've become a little bit insufferable the older that I've got and the more success I experience, purely from a, you can't argue with me. And you'll know this, and you'll know exactly what I mean. For everything that you say, and I'm not just saying Hayden here, but for everything that someone says to me, yeah, but you can't do this because of this, I will always come back with, yes, but what about this? Have you looked at it this way? Or have you thought about it from that point? Which is easier for someone to say from an outside perspective. But I do not believe that stuff don't, especially on Amazon, obviously, you can come back to me and say the refunds are unfair. That's what makes this system unfair. And I will come back and say, yeah, but you're looking at the refunds. You're not looking how many go back in stock, how many that you can come back and reclaim money for. You're looking at the 100% loss, when the reality of it is it's probably only about 20% when you look at it. And that's the cost of business. That should, if you're running a good enough model, that 20% can be absorbed into your business. It's a business cost. It's as simple as that. So there's always an answer for everything. So yeah, if you come to me with your problems, I'm probably not going to, cover you up, give you a blanket and sit you in the corner. I'm probably now going to tell you all of the things that alternative ways you can do it.
Yeah, like that's a good example with the Amazon refunds. Generally, I think you'll agree with this as well. You get around about 50% of refunds back if you claim through the reimbursements. You know, when I see like £1,000 a month refunds, for example, I think to myself, I might get 500-600 of that back in reimbursements. Yeah. People haven't returned the product, so Amazon reimburse you for not all of them. As long as you're chasing them using a software and getting VAs to do it like I do, then you might be able to claim 50% of that back. If you had your own retail store, if someone opens and uses a product and then returns it to you, you're not going to be able to sell that, or you're going to have to sell that at 90% discount, or just don't donate it or something like that. So I'd say it's actually more fair than running your own retail store, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and nobody's, I mean, yeah, you do get the scammers, but at the same time, if you know the system, you know how to, and you're relentless and you don't give up. And yes, it's a lot harder than it used to be, but at the same time, you're still going to have a lot more percentage of it coming off as opposed to if you don't try.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and also, yeah, as you say, it's a tax write-off for the rest of it, you know, for it coming straight off. If you're a profitable business, it's coming off your profit, you know. That's something that I didn't truly understand until a few years into my business stuff, you know. Like I'm like, now I do coaching, I do consulting and pay for services on the business that, you know, that I previously wouldn't, because I know it's coming straight off my you know, my tax return, you know. So instead of giving the money to the government, I'll give the money to you or someone else, and then, you know, get something back from it, you know. Just take it off my profit for the year, you know.
Absolutely.
Like stuff like that people don't think about, and they're like, oh, I don't want to spend 500 quid on coaching. I'm like, have you made profit in your business? Yeah, well, you know, buy some coaching then, you know, or whatever, you know. So
yeah, you can. I'm afraid to say you can have such a thing as too much of a profitable business, guys. But it really depends. You know, if you don't ever conceive yourself as selling your Amazon business in the future as a going concern to someone else, then you do not need to show big profits in your business. I'm never going to sell my Amazon business, or it's very unlikely. You know, I talk about this all the time. We maximize as much as possible in order to make sure that we pay the least amount of tax as possible. So disclaimer there, that is not tax advice, obviously. But yeah, just want to make that clear. But interesting points. Just going back to what Simon said, Amazon's a great stepping stone to other things. Absolutely. That's what we're going to move on to next. You learn financial awareness, business awareness, leadership, negotiation, data, and software. I personally believe there is no better business starter that can expose you to as many of those different things as Amazon. Think about all the things you get exposed to being an Amazon seller. It's just phenomenal. And I don't believe any other business, certainly at the start, can expose you to that level. And everything that I was in a different position. I was already quite established business person, you know, business owner. When I came into Amazon, I kind of did it the other way around. Never got to experience, came in as a VAT registered seller, never got to experience any of the VAT claim backs or anything like that, unfortunately. But, you know, there is nothing that I haven't continued to learn on Amazon, which is extensive, by the way. I have learned so much over the last 7 or 8 years of being involved in Amazon community, selling on Amazon, coaching other people. It's formed me into the person that I am today, and it's developed my knowledge to a new different level. So what I'm saying is, if it all stopped tomorrow, everything I've learned is transferable. So at the same time, whatever you go into, should it be do Amazon, learn it, cash out, sell the business at a later stage, something like that. The skills that you are learning right now in building these businesses will help you continue to grow as a person for the rest of your life. And you may not use them for 20 years, but this sort of stuff don't go out of fashion. Knowing how to negotiate with someone, that doesn't go out of fashion. Reading PPC, paid advertising data, the way that we do it in Amazon is the same way that you do it in any other business. It's something that you are building and gaining experience. Some months you win, some months you lose. So if you're in a non-profitable month, just think you've paid to learn that experience that month, obviously. But I do genuinely believe with Amazon, it comes down to you just got to win more than you lose in order for this model to truly work. Loads of you have joined on, by the way, so great to have everyone here. Sorry I can't say hello to everyone individually. And Sean just going back and saying about helps that Amazon now don't suspend you with the account health assurance. So yeah, we'll come in and talk about that probably next week. Probably dive into that a little bit deeper next week. Yeah. Oh, I don't know where that comment came from.
I came from StreamYard. Wow.
No, I think that's Johnny. We're I think Johnny's in the background sort of adding comments and things like that. I was gonna say I didn't do that. So yeah, it's good to see everyone on live. So thank you. So moving on from what we said with what Simon said, Amazon's a great kind of starter. It can move you into other things. So what now has happened to you in terms of success stories in your physical selling? Talk us through now where the selling on Amazon has taken you in two different directions in terms of building what you've done in the influencer space and now moving into supplying services in the Amazon space. So just talk us maybe through the influencer first one, which wouldn't have come about, obviously, if you weren't as successful as you were with the selling.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you can look at my YouTube on the Mr. Hayden YouTube channel. I went back literally. You look at my old video; it's like 4 years old now. My first video on there, and like I wasn't pushing it hard, but I was genuinely like documenting a lot of my journey on there. As the first video I ever did was Arbitrage vs private label. Didn't really have a clue what I was talking about, but I just turned the camera on and just said, like, I've done my research. This is what I think is the difference between arbitrage and private label. It's really funny to see how, not confident I am and stuff on the camera back then on the first ever video I did. But then you can see me transition there from, prepping at my mum's house and then getting myself a tiny little unit in one of them big yellow cell storage, getting a bigger unit, getting an office, getting a bigger office, getting a big unit, and then outsourcing it all to it's all on there. Like my whole journey is on that channel. And then after a while, I just obviously, just started taking it a little bit more seriously, but not really. I still don't really take it seriously. It's kind of like it's a 20% thing that I've always done. I could have a lot more subscribers if I hit it hard, but it's kind of not my main focus. But yeah, it's kind of something that I've always enjoyed doing, and I've always thought it's a really important thing to do, have a personal brand. You get that. Yeah, it definitely secures your income a lot more, I think. I could utilize, if Amazon stopped tomorrow, I could utilize that personal brand for another use if I wanted to. Like there's people that know me from that now. And then after a while I realized that I'd also like to utilize it from helping other sellers. So obviously now, I might do a tiny bit of consulting now. I've only just started doing for a couple of people maybe, but apart from that, it's mainly just to start, an epic service, like what we've done with the agency. So yeah, that's where it sort of transitioned into.
Excuse me, I wasn't, for anyone that's listening on the replay, didn't see the video, that was me sneezing, not laughing or anything like that. So obviously you went in that. And what do you say to the people that sort of like say, because I'm quite happy to shout down anyone that says, oh, if you're doing that, you're not a real seller. You're not this. Real sellers don't have time for that, or blah, blah, blah. Whereas I think it's super sensible, if you develop, and, everyone has different paths. So I've worked with people who start in the selling space, but I think obviously people that have got the more front facing stuff, coaches, training, that type of thing.
Yeah.
They're the ones that get the flack, whereas nobody picks on the agencies. Nobody picks on the people that write listings. Nobody picks on that. They pick on the education. And I understand the reason why they do. Obviously, I'm not saying I don't understand it. But what I find really interesting is how so many people look at it negatively when you go into different spaces, as opposed to, because to me, it just makes sense. It's common sense that once you are good at something, Then you create a service, a course or something, whatever it is, or you create, you encounter problems, so therefore you create a solution for it. It's just common sense. So I don't get it when people say, I do get it, by the way, the understanding of, I do get it when people, don't sell, and they're the TikTokers now, B&M, and doing this, and they're selling courses. By the way, heard someone selling courses $4,000 the other day for standard arbitrage. People, you do not need to pay that. You do not need to pay that. That is ridiculous.
I paid about the same for my first one. Yeah.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. $3,000. Mental.
Wow. What's just a standard reselling course?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to make a free one. I do need to make a free one. But even your free one on your YouTube channel, sort of infrastructure, the software's changed a little bit in the way, Seller Central's changed a little bit, but I'd still stand by. You could watch that and still get started nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. It still gets views today, and people are like, thanks so much. It's just all the basics are there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, please don't pay 4,000 to start with this sort of course. I mean, I'm not massively against it in the sense that if you get it started and you use that as motivation, and you wouldn't have ordinarily have started, fair enough. But yeah, okay, please don't. You don't need to. So then you've gone off and you've created an income stream from that point of view, which is really impressive. But now there's something else you've started with me as well, I would say. I'm involved in this, making it out like it's just Hayden. So one thing that we kind of noticed, we all said that we wanted to work together on something, but, obviously between myself and what you do individually with the Hive, that covers everything from an education point of view, from my point of view. I also have, software with Johnny. And I said to you, right, we've got to wait. I think the right opportunity is going to come to us at the right time, without going all woo-woo. And one thing I noticed quite quickly is being someone who started stuff in spaces. So when I first started teaching to bundles, there was no option but to prep yourself. Prep centers didn't offer bundle services. And I used to say from day one, some smart person will come along and they will create a prep center, and that prep center will specialize in bundles, but it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a little while for that to happen. It's going to take a little while for that to kick in. And lo and behold, 2 or 3 years later, most prep centers offer a bundle service, and you have specialist bundle services. So there you go. You're welcome for all the money, prep center guys. But it takes a little while to catch up on that sort of stuff. And one thing again I started to say when I started teaching PPC to people was, with bundles, it's a different way of looking at PPC. It's not as intense as private label, but it's more than reseller PPC. It's that kind of halfway house. So after teaching so many people, hundreds of people, to be able to do the bundles, what some people have realized is they just don't want to handle the PPC. So I think it was you that came to me and said, well, what about, I've been pretty successful with PPC. You know how it all works. On the bundle side, we know it's different. There are so many people popping up in the group saying, does anyone know anyone that runs PPC? I don't want to do it myself. And it's not because it's not taught in the Hive. It's just one of those things that people just don't like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's as simple as that. So we kind of discovered that niche. We haven't even advertised. We haven't even really even talked about it publicly or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, we're at the very early stages, and I will say very early stages of, testing it out with people. We're not testing it out because obviously we've got a team and everything like that. And seems to be going pretty well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think something just a mark on there was that I noticed I'd reached out to a couple of PPC agencies and had a look, and it was like, they were like, minimum probably 1,500, like $2,000, like a month for management. I just couldn't, unless you're a big fish. They're not interested, you know. And I was like, who's servicing the smaller guys? You know, like who's servicing these smaller sellers and the bundles and all that sort of thing, you know, like a lower price point. And there just doesn't seem to be anyone doing it, or there wasn't anyone doing it, you know. And that was the main thing that we picked up, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, with this type of thing, if there is an untapped market, which absolutely there is, any business person or entrepreneur will spot that opportunity and create a service around that. And that's exactly what we've done and are going to continue to do moving forward, because at the end of the day, we'd be mad not to. It's
Exactly,
as simple as that. And I think, again, when you've been doing something for a certain period of time, you stop apologizing, you know, for certain things, and you stop asking. You definitely stop asking for permission for stuff. And I now live by the rule. I would definitely rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. But you become, again, I talk about it a lot, business maturity. The certain things that you do at certain stages in your life, it just all adds to the experience, and it all adds, you know, it becomes this compounding effect that, like I said, when you start things, they tend to go well because obviously you have a certain level of success and it kind of rolls into another. So big game changer for me was Russell Brunson, the ClickFunnels guy, the Hive guys hear me talk about him quite a lot. I'm not an avid follower of him. I have not consumed every single bit of information that he has released or developed. I do not have a ClickFunnels account, but I'm a firm believer in if you hear something and it really resonates with you, then you should take action on it and you should listen to it. And this one particular thing that Russell Brunson said to me, well, not personally, but I read it. Yeah. You know, we were hanging out down at ClickFunnels, you know. I'll tell you what, if I was there, I would get in the room with him. I'm one of those. I will say my kids, they hate it, but they love it at the same time. If my kids say to me, perfect example of Max when we went to Manchester City, getting him to the front and seeing all the footballers and everything like that.
Yeah.
We got there a bit late and he was like, oh, I was like, Max, if you want to get to the front, I'll get you to the front. And he was like, yeah, no, I mean, there's like 10 people deep, you know, all of the crowd and everything like that. I said, if you want to go to the front, I'll get you to the front. And he said, yeah. And I got him to the front. It's as simple as that. So, you know, anyway, I digressed. Sorry. But what Russell Brunson said, which was so true, if you want to earn more money, there's like 4 different stages to it. If you want to earn more money, do more of what you're already doing. But the first thing you should do, increase your price.
Yeah.
Mind blown. If you want to do more, but you have no more capacity, increase your price. If I have a nail salon and I charge £30 and my rota is full per session or per nails, the best way for me to make more money is to increase it to £35 or £40. Might lose a few customers, but then I've got, if I'm at full capacity, I'm turning people away anyway.
Yeah.
So first things to do, that blew my mind. How simple is that?
Yeah, people don't talk about that at all. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And you could do it with physical products as well, as long as you've got unique elements that can allow it.
Absolutely. I've said it to you. You've said this price, blah, blah, blah. I said, put your price up. Yeah. Put your price up. See if it holds. And if it does. So that can be applied to absolutely everything. Second thing, look at what you're already doing in your business. Okay. And what, if you're already doing, can you develop into new income streams? So being an Amazon seller is the perfect vehicle for that. Think, if you can think and name all of the different things that you can develop, services, coaching, software, you know, managing other people's accounts. It's, you know, I could probably, if you gave me 5 minutes, I could come up with 20 things that you could potentially develop into additional income streams. So why wouldn't you do that instead of looking for additional income streams elsewhere? Why learn something new? Capitalize on your knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you've got to do what you're best at as well, what your skills suit the most as well, and what you enjoy the most. You know, I'm actually a very face-to-face person. I like speaking to people. I like doing stuff like this. I like meeting people in person. I like chatting and communicating with people. With my e-commerce business, I'm kind of like so restricted where I don't have to do that. So I can just crack on away and just work at home alone all the time. But I don't actually enjoy that much. So like a big part of me for starting like an agency or whatever was I need that, human to human interaction a lot more. So sometimes it just comes down to fun as well, like to have a successful business, I think you've got to have fun in it. People don't talk about that enough, like a lot of the time I just wasn't enjoying, sounds depressing, but it's not, I wasn't enjoying my life that much because I was just sure I was making money, but sitting at home creating listings all day isn't actually that fun. And people don't talk about that much, unless you're a massive introvert and you enjoy that. Some people might enjoy that.
I like creating listings, but I'm definitely not.
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind. There's a time and a place where I can put, suits on in the background and watch it, depending on what show you like. But yeah, it depends what your skills align with as well, and you've got to meet also your earning capacity. Some people, can earn more by getting on camera or can earn more by communicating with people. So, why not do it if you're going to enjoy it and it ticks all the boxes? Some people do, as you said earlier, sort of poo-poo people that think, say if you're creating content or if you're doing training or if you're doing something else, then, it's because you can't do the selling, for example. I do the selling and I think I do it pretty well. And I'm, we're building that nicely, but I've also diversified my incomes because it's just the route that I wanted to go down. Was it, you're not going to find out if it was the right thing to do until 5 years down the line, really, anyway. But that's the route that I chose. But I do understand the people that they say that they're talking about. They're talking about, people that just go all in on content and then only do Amazon selling 5%, But believe it or not, there is people that can do both,
Yeah, absolutely. Like Simon says, I think it's more the people that do stuff for 3 months, then selling courses and mentoring, selling other people's information and experience. Absolutely.
Exactly,
Guys, I'm going to have to go on TikTok at some point because I tell you what, there are people on there that are rehashing my information. And it doesn't drive me mental and it affects me more than it should do. But at the same time, they're also not only rehashing the information, they're giving out bad advice as well, which I can't stand. So, watch out, Natalie, TikTok guru, coming soon to a TikTok space near you. But yeah, I know. Here we go. Rosie says she's absolutely right. Hayden, you've come so far since the original ESA days. Wonderful, inspirational journey for to follow a fabulous young man. Absolutely.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a lovely thing to say. Thank you, Rosie. Sean says, I love Jim Rohn quotes. He's such an amazing guy. I don't know Jim Rohn, actually.
Yeah, you don't.
Oh, Jim Rohn.
No. Jim Rohn.
Sorry. I thought you meant like Rowan Keaton. Like,
I was gonna say, who's Jim Rohn?
No, Jim Rohn's my favorite. Jim Rohn's my favorite.
Amazing.
Sorry, that's my fault. I misread it, Sean. Apologies. Yeah, Jim Rohn's my favorite. I recommended him and sent some videos the other day to someone I was talking to. He's my absolute favorite for sure. So please, guys, if anybody feels that they are in that realm of saying to someone, why are you doing this? If you're just a seller, if you're a successful seller, why? It's the sensible route to go down. I would encourage anybody to do it. As Hayden says, it's not for everybody. If you want to do something like this, you probably need a certain skill set, but it doesn't mean that you can't do something. We spoke to someone today, didn't we, who manages other people's brands. And is creating and building a really good income stream for that. And that's based on their knowledge. You don't have to have an extrovert nature. You don't have to, know how to speak publicly or anything like that. Cindy has created her own business with creating listings for other people. We've had multiple success stories where people have gone on and created additional income streams out of doing it. It's not crazy. It's not, what's the word I'm thinking of? Disingenuous. It's the sensible thing to do. It's as simple as that. So that's why I wanted you to come on today, Hayden, to talk to people about that, but also just to give a little plug to the PPC agency as well, for anyone that is maybe thinking about outsourcing it. If you are getting confuddled by PPC, if it's not for you, you're in the bundle route, drop Hayden a message and he can have a chat with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Nice and sunny. Well, is it sunny where you are? It's a bit sunny where I'm. No.
It was this morning. It was this morning, but it's kind of stopped a little bit now. But you know what? I'm going to Florida in 3 weeks. By the way, all paid for by my Amazon business, with the exception of the spending money. But then I withdrew about 600 quid from Top Cashback yesterday. So that's gone into the spending money pot.
Right.
I've tried my best to cover this holiday with Amazon, selling on Amazon as much as possible. So I'm going to do a whole video about that when I get back to see if I actually manage to do it, because the flights are covered by Amazon. The hotels are covered by Amazon. The tickets are technically covered by Amazon, as in Amazon profits, and then obviously the spending money as well. So yeah, but what I will say, yeah, Disney World is like a vacuum. You walk in and just the cash.
I was going to say, no way. I mean, that 600 quid is going to last you like one day with a
like
family.
Like a day, on there. So
that's like a couple of meals in Disneyland. But yeah, I'm going to Greece next month, as you know, at the end of the month, and that's all paid for by Amazon as well. We're going business class and everything. So yeah, there's so many benefits that come, obviously, as running an Amazon business.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm starting to get a bit guru-ish, because at this moment in time where there's no issues on Amazon, I'm totally in love with Amazon at the moment. And, you know, the benefits, reaping the benefits, doing what I feel very fortunate enough to be able to do. I work with some phenomenal people. I meet phenomenal people. I'm very much in the Amazon love hub at the moment. I really am. I'm sure that will change in the future. So, but let's ride the love wave for as long as we can on Amazon. But good to see you, Hayden. Thank you so much. And like I said, I know you're on just a couple of weeks ago, but I really wanted people to see the progression, what you've been through the last 2.5 years, the journey that you've been on, which people like Rosie, you know, absolutely have seen that progression from an outside point of view to where you are now, to the trajectory that you're also on, and where you're going to be heading in the future. Because like I said, this is an iceberg, right? You know, it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's just scratching the surface. Where you go from here now takes the hardest part is the first 3 years, you know, but once you get beyond that, the successes and everything, like, they just compound even more.
Yeah, definitely. And anyone that is struggling to start out at the moment, definitely, you just got to keep pushing, you know. It really sounds cliche, but it's true, isn't it? You know, you just got to keep pushing when it gets tough. You know, I wanted to give up so many times. Sometimes now, even like a few days ago, I was like, oh, you know, I'm done, you know. And then I go have a coffee, sit in the sun for a minute, I come back, I'm like, right, let's crack on. You know, like, just get over my little hissy fit sort of thing. But yeah, I don't think that ever leaves. But yeah, definitely the compounding gets faster and the momentum builds faster as well as you just stick with it. But it's a real tough grind to start with, you know. Like, I'm starting a new sort of, not model, but sort of selling model at the moment, as you know, and like, that's going to be 6 months until that starts to see some good results. But I've got that confidence now to sort of, you know, understand that deeply, you know, that anything takes a while to start compounding, but the confidence will come, you know, the money will come as long as you stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the wisest words that you can tell to any new starter is you literally, it's that classic example of giving up, what is it, 5 feet before the gold or diamonds or whatever it was. You work bloody hard, and then all of a sudden you don't see the results, but the compounding effect is truly phenomenal. Once it starts to happen, you've just got to see that green shoot. You got to believe, you got to keep pushing forward, because before you know it, you'll have a field.
Absolutely. And if in this space, if there's someone else doing it, then you can do it. You know, it might take you 5 years, But if there's someone else doing it, then you can do it, because we've all got the same access to Amazon. Like Amazon doesn't specialize anyone. Even people doing hundreds of millions have still got the same abilities that we've got. They've just built up moats around them and infrastructures and more funding, example. But yeah, everyone's got the same equal opportunity. It's just figuring out what models work for you and different ways that you can, make it special.
Yeah, Andre says top advice: get out, get some fresh air, come back, smash it. Lovely. Yeah. Another massive success story is Andre as well. So, like I said, really starting to build, a really good selection of people that have been sticking it year in, year out. And like I said, success comes at different times. Unfortunately, it never knows when it's going to hit for you. It might hit for someone in the first month. They might get that breakthrough in the first month. For someone else, it might be 2 years. It is simple as that. I can't guarantee when it's going to hit, but when it does hit, it's going to hit hard. So make sure you're prepared for when it does happen and you recognize it as well. I think there's been so many times when people look at something happens, and because they're in such a poor mindset. So keep your mind healthy, guys, as well. Keep educated, keep listening to things, always be open to possibility. The second you shut down and closed to it, it's just not going to happen for you because you won't spot the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Simple as that. Right, let's wrap it up. So anybody, thank you, Hayden, shameless plug time. If anyone wants to listen and follow more on the kind of guru side of things, where can they find you? And if anyone is interested in exploring the possibility of having you run their PPC, then where can they find you?
Yeah, shoot me a message on Messenger if you're interested in the PPC. Also Mr. Hayden YouTube channel, Mr. Hayden TikTok, and then Mr. Hayden Facebook group. So it's just Mr. Hayden. I've got the Econ Weekly podcast as well with Yanni as well. Can't forget that one. That's on Spotify and Apple, and also uploaded onto YouTube as well. If you type in Econ Weekly.
Okay, cool. So that is because you've been impacted by this StreamYard thing anyway as well. So that's going to be more on your YouTube channel. Where can they find you live on that?
Well, I'm chatting to Yanni right after this to see if we can figure it out. I might have to chat to Johnny as well. See how
hit Johnny up.
I'm going to hit Johnny up after this if he's available. But we try and stream it to Facebook and YouTube, but it might just be YouTube. We'll see. But yeah, every Wednesday. No, is it every Wednesday? 2 p.m. Yeah, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. We do the podcast live.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Depending on where you're watching this, if you're watching it on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, give us a follow. Or, like I said, Rosie said, love the honest talk. Very rare to hear. That's exactly what we do, and that's what we want to be known for. So, for sure, make sure if you want to hear more real talk, more honest talk, give us a follow or whatever, subscribe. Whatever you want to do. I know, rubbish at that sort of stuff. I know. But Hayden, thanks once again. You genuinely deserve all the success that you experienced. Like I said, you never gave up. You dug your heels in. And like I said, you've got what's coming for you from a karma point of view in a really good way. So I'm really pleased, delighted and fortunate to be able to witness it along the way. So I'm very lucky. I'll always be grateful to that for that opportunity as well. So thank you.
Oh, appreciate it. Thanks very much. Cheers all.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.